This is The Herd, wherever you may be and however you may be listening, live in Los Angeles, iHeartRadio, Fox Sports Radio, and FS1. 1 hour from now, the great Greg Cosell joins us, NFL Films. Dan Shaughnessy, longtime Boston Globe columnist, joining us in an hour and a half, and Christine Leahy alongside today as we venture into hour number 2. I want to thank Rob Parker for stopping by. How are you, Christine?
I'm good. How are you? Do you know what day it is this week?
What?
You're struggling with that.
It's Thursday today.
It is Thursday.
And I'm taking tomorrow off. I'm going skiing.
Oh.
With some buddies. So it's
no kids this time?
I'm giving you all I got today. Mike Missanelli, a very popular radio host in Philadelphia, will join us in about 3 minutes here. So I saw this story this morning. Rob Gronkowski, who, by the way, has been listed on the injury report 50 times in his career, but this marks the first time he's on it with a concussion. He is now listed in the concussion protocol on the Patriots injury report. That doesn't even count IR. He's hurt a lot. And people are saying, oh, my God, without Gronk, how will they do against this great Philadelphia defense? And here's the way. I've watched every Patriot snap for 15 years. Okay, I lived in New England. I adopted them sort of as my team because I saw their preseason game. I got video that you wouldn't normally get unless you live in a city. When I lived, here's how I would say what Gronk means to the Patriots. I grew up in the Pacific Northwest, Seattle, right? Portland area. There are very few sunny days between Thanksgiving and like the 4th of July. Like 4th of July is the first day of summer in the Pacific Northwest. For the rest of you, it's like May, June. And in Seattle, in Portland, when the sun does appear in February, March, April, May, the city explodes. Everybody's outside. Everybody's jogging. I mean, you call your friends, let's go have lunch at a cafe. So Gronk has become that for New England. You appreciate when he's available, but you've learned to live without him. Sean Lee gets hurt, the Cowboys go into the tank. OBJ gets hurt, Giants go into the tank. Even Philadelphia a couple years ago, Lane Johnson gets hurt, wow, team plummets. New England's just figured out, dude's not available that much. We appreciate when he's there, we're good when he's gone. I'll give you an example. I said this. They're not reliant on him. And this is the way it works in parenting. If you baby your kids, they're reliant on you. If you don't baby your kids, they get into crisis in college or high school, they're more self-reliant. New England doesn't baby Gronk, and they don't rely on Gronk. They lost Gronk at halftime against the best defense in the AFC, Jacksonville. Statistically, the best defense. Is it as good as Philadelphia's? I actually think Philadelphia's got Fletcher Cox, who's better than anybody outside of maybe Jalen Ramsey on Jacksonville. But the point is, they lost him at halftime. That would discombobulate a lot of teams. They literally used their third best slot receiver, Danny Amendola, to chew up the Jaguars for the last 45 minutes of that game. Because they're not relying on him. And it does remind me a lot of when I lived in the Northwest. Thanksgiving to 4th of July, sun doesn't come out much. You appreciate the heck out of it when it does, but you've learned to live without it. It's like J.J. Watt with the Houston Texans. J.J. Watt's wonderful. You can't rely on him. Don't build around him. Steven Strasburg for the Washington Nationals. He's terrific. He's injury prone. Go get Max Scherzer. It's up to you as an organization to be honest with yourself about your star players. If you're the New York Giants, I'm sorry. Odell Beckham's a small perimeter, fragile player. You better figure out how to win beyond him because that dude's going to be hurt a lot. Forget the emotional stuff, marrying the kicking net. The kid weighs 178 pounds. He's already had injuries. He's not a great blocker. He's got a temper. He gets into. You can't build around OBJ. In Dallas, get another linebacker that matters. Every time Sean Lee has an ice cream headache and misses a play, you go into the tank. All right, people think, Philadelphia has it out for me. They always have. One time I just said I thought, they run Francona out of town and they run Andy Reid out of town and Chip Kelly's a bum. And it's like, Philadelphia, about 2-3 years ago, you were about done with Jay Wright, and now Villanova outside of Duke. I think it's the best basketball program in the country. And joining us from Philadelphia, Mike Missanelli via the Coward Global Satellite Network. Mike, you know the city. Can you just be honest here? Is that in the East Coast, New York's got the money, Boston's got the titles, D.C.'s got the power, and Philadelphia's got a cheesesteak. And you guys have a chip on your shoulder, and it's part of why we love you. But Philadelphia's always angry at everybody.
All right, well, let me first get to this, okay? Because, I am not a homer. I think you know that.
Yeah.
We've known each other for a while now. You can't imagine how much glee I feel right now going up against, representing Philly, going up against the evil empire of Philadelphia, which is Colin Cowherd. And there's some unfinished business. Before we get into all the little nuances here of this game, there's some unfinished business.
Yeah.
You called Philadelphia fans the dumbest sports fans in America.
Yeah.
And I, for the life of me, you're going to have to justify that to me. The Andy Reid argument we have had time and time again, and you still have not learned. And we never wanted to run Jay Wright out of town. Francona had a team that was terrible for 4 years. He didn't really do anything to improve them. It's not like we wake up and want to run people out of town. They don't perform. And that's when the tensions get hot and we say it's time to move on.
But could I not argue that if it wasn't for Andy Reid, that Nick Foles wouldn't be an Eagle? That you should put your arms around him. He wanted to retire, and Andy's like, time out. Kid, you got some talent here. And Nick Foles is like, I was going to quit football. Couldn't you at least put your arm around Andy Reid and go, you know what? Thank you for the gift of Nick Foles.
What, for your fascination with Andy Reid is beyond my comprehension. I mean, he was here for 14 years, and he has proven in Kansas City that he can't win either. Now, we put up with 14 years of good success, but not the ultimate prize. He has coached 19 years without winning a championship. What are we missing here with Andy Reid? And what is your infatuation with the guy?
Well, I think he wins. Philadelphia was a little bit of a mess. He made you the NFC. I thought you were the best. And you were before Aaron Rodgers, you were the best NFC football team for about 10 years. Now, you don't have...
But Colin, he did...
You didn't win Super Bowls, but you were Charles Barkley and Marino didn't win titles. You were very good under Andy. You were the force to be reckoned with in the NFC. That is something.
How many years do you put up with being a force without getting to the next level where you finally have to cut bait? His last year, he was 4-12 for his regular season. It was time to move on from Andy Reid. And he has done the same thing in Kansas City. You saw how he coached in the playoffs. He's an inadequate playoff coach. He was 1-4 in NFC title games with a better team. So let's get past Andy Reid. It's like you have this, I don't know what it is, but the Eagles have managed, believe it or not, to move on without the grand poobah of NFL coaching in your mind, Andy Reid.
You know, they have. Okay, so a lot of people, let's go to Nick Foles for a second. Now, listen, we know how it works, Mike, is that somebody gets to play. The Jaguars get to play the Patriots. Talk, brag, guarantee. Here's Philadelphia. I mean, this happens every year in the Super Bowl. Legion of Boom, brag, lose. Atlanta, rise up, brag. Jaguars, we're going to beat you, brag. Rex Ryan, Jets. So Philadelphia's in the Super Bowl. One of your players makes fun of Tom Brady. Malcolm Jenkins, who's a hell of a player and a good guy, comes out and says, I can't wait to go to the Super Bowl and talk non-football. Aren't the Eagles falling into the trap of all New England victims, which is you think you have better players, and you get distracted?
No. I think the Eagles right now are the calmest team I've seen in my lifetime. They are walking around with a confident swagger. And what happened on Sunday, I at first did not believe they were going to beat the Patriots. I thought they would win the first two playoff games, even with Nick Foles. We had no frame of reference that Nick Foles was going to play the way he did. In fact, I think it was a remake of Heaven Can Wait. As I was watching that game, and John Elway in his prime climbed into Nick Foles' body. But what it taught me is that there's some kind of destiny that's following this team. But if you look at it tangibly, their defense is what's going to win this game. If you look at the stats, the Eagles' defense is much better than the Patriots' offense, and in fact, the offense looks like if you look at the numbers, they're better than the Patriots. This is not a great Patriots team, Colin, and I know they're going to have to beat the best quarterback of all time and the best coach of all time, who, by the way, is 15-0 against teams that he has not played in the regular season as he plays them in the playoffs. Those are pretty high stakes. But this team is walking around with a quiet confidence. They've taken this underdog role to heart, and now they believe sincerely, and they are calm enough, and have seen it in practice this week, They are calm enough to go there and pull this off.
Listen, nothing against Doug Peterson, but when he got the job, many speculated, I was one of them, that said, I hope he does well. I like the fact that he's an offensive guy in an increasingly offensive game, but he wasn't really the play caller in Kansas City, so he goes there his first year. He's 1-6 in one-possession games. There's a game against Dallas where, every coach has a bad Sunday. It was like Tomlin with the Steelers and the Jags. He had a bad Sunday against the Dallas Cowboys last year, 1-6 one-possession games. And then all of a sudden, Carson Wentz explodes, and the kid's amazing. Are we absolutely sure that Doug Peterson's a great coach? Or can it be that Carson Wentz is filthy, Fletcher Cox is the best lineman in football, and that some of this is timing? A road-weary Atlanta came on the road. Minnesota won a miracle game and was flat. Isn't some of this Wentz, Fletcher, and timing?
There's always an excuse. Early on, I would say you were right. The formula was the Eagles played great defense and Carson Wentz made plays. Once Carson Wentz went down, it didn't look very good because Foles really didn't play well in the last two games against Oakland and against Dallas. But in the time that they've had to practice, and he hadn't had a lot of reps with the first team, he developed some kind of chemistry with their wide receivers. But the game plan and the coaching game plan on offense has been impeccable. They did exactly what they needed to do against Atlanta, which was the RPO, the run pass option, short passes. Now against the Vikings, they figured out, let's try to go long early. They missed the one pass, but then they kept going long. And this guy had the game of his life. Now, is he going to have the game of his life against the Patriots? Probably not. For us to expect Nick Foles to play the way he did Sunday would be ridiculous. But it's this defense that they've relied on all year long. It hasn't just been recently. It's been all year long that this defense has kept them in the game. They're holding teams to 7.5 points in the postseason. The yards per game, I mean, it's amazing. During the regular season, they were third in points per game given up. Against the rush, they were third. Against the pass, they were 13. Yards per game, they were 7. But their defense, that was the offense. The defense, first against the rush, fourth yards per game, fourth in takeaways, third in third down efficiency. All this stuff has added up to make this a very good defense. Now, are they the Ravens or are they the Bears, these historical defenses? No, but I think they're going to make things uncomfortable for Tom Brady by getting him to back up. That's the key to Tom Brady. If you get him to come straight back, throwing off his back heels, you can get him to make mistakes. If he's allowed to slide, he's going to make some plays. And the Gronkowski factor is a big factor. Who knows how long he's going to play in this game if he plays with that tenuous concussion situation.
And by the way, finally, Mike Missanelli is a very popular radio host at 97.5 The Fanatic. I said Philadelphia fans, I think you're a little more hostile. You had a fan punch a horse this week. Could you acknowledge that happened?
Yeah. Yeah, a fan punched a horse, and there's always a drunken lout in a tailgate area that's going to do something like that. But I did some research for you, Colin.
Okay, let me hear research.
This was reported in the Washington Post.
I would know, fake news.
The amount of arrests. The amount of arrests that have happened. The Chargers, believe it or not, 24.6 arrests per year. The Giants, 22.5. The Jets, 21.5. The Raiders, 17.8. The Steelers, 16.8. The Eagles' fan base is not even in the top 5. To say nothing of the fact that in California, where you live, obviously there's been deaths and stabbings. There hasn't been anybody killed in Philadelphia, has it? Here's the problem. Philadelphia is regarded by the nation as the third class on the Titanic. So whatever happens, whatever little thing happens, it's like, oh, there's those poor downtrodden scrubs from the third deck of the Titanic, right. And here they are acting up again. Well, you people in L.A. and your sunshine and all this, and you don't have that kind of reputation. Yeah. We're a hardcore, blue-collar, but sophisticated city. And I think you owe the fans of Philadelphia an apology by saying they're the dumbest fans in America. In fact, they're the opposite. They're the smartest fans in America because they realize a phony when they see one and they're ready to move on, like this Andy Reid situation.
Listen, if you can go a week without punching a horse, I'll retract my statement. How's that?
There's not going to be a horse punched in Minnesota. I don't know how many Eagle fans are coming out there. In Jacksonville, they came out in droves because Florida, the Philadelphia people, is a vacation.
Right.
Minnesota, when it's 3 degrees, is not a vacation. So I don't know whether you're not going to see any mayhem in Minnesota. I guarantee it.
All right, Mike, good talking to you. Continued success. You're kicking butt in that market. No big surprise. I'm happy for you.
Thanks, Colin. Appreciate it.
You bet. Mike Missanelli, a very popular guy and a very, very passionate sports city in America, Philadelphia. They get after it. You know, it's funny. When I grew up on the West Coast and I've moved around for broadcasting, one of the things I always appreciated with New York and Boston and Philadelphia, and Christine can speak to this, sports radio in those markets, it is like, it's fisticuffs.
Angry.
No, it's just fisticuffs. Like the host barks at the callers bark back. It's just the reality of it. If you listen to San Diego, San Francisco, Seattle, Los Angeles sports radio, it's not confrontational. It's just now you can criticize it, but could I make the argument that New York and Philadelphia are a little more authentic? And they love their teams, and they're going to call and scream at you as a host, and they let you know how they feel. But there's no question, if you listen to sports radio in Philadelphia and in Boston, and I live in Los Angeles or Phoenix or San Francisco, it's a blood sport back there. Like, they get after it, and Mike's one of the top guys on the East Coast. Coming up next, LeBron's owner selling the team. That's been reported, and I'll tell you why next. Using TrueCar, you can find the car you want, and with True Price from TrueCar, you avoid the confusion you encounter online. You get a great price and count on before you ever visit a dealership. The True Price includes all dealer fees and accessories. And TrueCar.com will show you what other people in your area paid for the car you want. All right? Over 3 million cars have been sold to TrueCar users on the TrueCar Certified Dealer Network. There are over 15,000 TrueCar certified dealers, and on average, a buyer would save $3,000 off MSRP. They'll search their inventory to find a vehicle that matches your needs and preferences. When you're ready to buy a new or used car, go to the TrueCar Certified Dealer Network, TrueCar.com. It's a more confident car buying experience. With some features not available in all states. That is TrueCar, new or used, TrueCar.com.